Hi, everyone, and welcome to an informal chat on the ABCs of NFTs, blockchain, cryptocurrency, Web 3.0, the Metaverse, and their relevance, if any, to loyalty programs. And I have the absolute pleasure and privilege to have with me today Tim Lee, which actually LEA is close to the word leader, who I think is a leader in the digital land of all of those items that I just mentioned. And for the sake of accuracy, I'll let Tim introduce himself. So hi, Tim, welcome. And
Thanks,
please
Adam.
give us a bit of a synopsis of your past, present, and future self.
Yeah, I mean, I've got enough grey hairs, so it'll last a lifetime, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, originally I'm from the UK, been in Australia for 20 years, proud to be an Australian citizen now. Historically, my background is in corporate finance, so I used to work with people like GE Capital, HSBC, Lloyds Bank, those sorts of guys. But I did get involved entrepreneurially with the whole .com boom and bust back in 1995. And in fact, on February the 12th, 1995 at 2:16 p.m. in the afternoon, to be honest, which is when I first saw the internet for the first time. And we connected to an art gallery that was about 10 kilometers down the road via a 14 4K modem, if you remember those. And I remember one line at a time, this piece of art came up on the concrete monitor they called or this concrete block they called a monitor. And I just thought, wow, this is going to be humongous, because that could be Sydney, it could be Seoul. This is in Brighton in the UK. And so we set up an internet cafe, bar and restaurant. We developed a web design house from that, and we sold that in 2001, 6 weeks prior to the crash, which was great. Then we came out to Australia, and I went back into corporate after taking 9 months off, which was the nicest 9 months I've had in a long time. So went back into corporate just to try and sort of get used to what Australia is about. I mean, my partner at the time was Aussie. And then, came across Bitcoin in 2011.
Wow.
And I thought, oh no, but there's a kicker. I looked at it and I said, this is way too geeky. It's not going to go anywhere. And I was completely wrong. And that was one of my failings, I guess, in some ways. But in 2014, I got involved in writing and directing a feature film, independent feature film, funded independently, great fun. But we got pirated because we actually won some film festivals internationally. And I was thinking, come on, guys, this is our breakfast. So we started looking at how could we solve film piracy. And in early 2015, somebody sort of said, have you thought about the blockchain? And I was saying, well, that's all Bitcoin stuff. I mean, I had a look at that in 2011, not really interested. And I said, no, have a look at the technology. So I started going deep into the technology, and I had exactly the same feeling that I had back in 1995. Except it was on steroids, right? And so the key thing about the blockchain, I think, that everybody needs to really appreciate is that the blockchain is turning the internet of information to the internet of value. And that's really the best summarizing it. And in 2015, went down that rabbit hole, wrote a book on the subject. And
what's the title of the book?
Called Down the Rabbit Hole.
Down the Rabbit Hole.
Every time I started talking to people, they would say, once you get down the rabbit hole, you never come back. And that it was the title just lent itself. Perfect.
Is it available for?
It's on Amazon. Yeah, there's and it's I'm very blessed because it's as a result of that book, I spoke at conferences all over Southeast Asia, India, Dubai, New York. Blessed to have that experience. I'm super blessed. Yeah, I got deeply involved in both enterprise, in terms of looking at various structures, including a loyalty play out of San Francisco when I was a contract CEO for a small ASX listed company, and then got deeply involved in Indigenous arts back in 2017. We were looking at the fractionalization of art assets, and then I came across the problems that Indigenous artists have felt. And it was then in December last year, or 2020 now, when NFTs were starting to boil up, and I thought, this is the time to do this now. And so we've been working on the project Walking Between Worlds, which we've been working on for over 12 months, and we're just launching the first Genesis collection on the 26th of February.
Yeah, so for those people, sorry, just to jump in, for those people watching, today's date is the
24th. Yes, I'm so sorry.
February, and so you've got a few more days. So if people watch this after, they've got an opportunity to go and and talk. So just quickly, a minute or so on walking between worlds. Just
I'll give a really high level view. Walking Between Worlds is a platform that's designed to energize Indigenous communities globally to capitalize on NFTs. Because I guess over the past 18 months, we've all suffered really badly from the pandemic, and it's caused us to question a lot of things. And as I get deeper into Indigenous culture, there's so much we can learn. And the art from the Indigenous communities expresses culture that's 50,000 years old. So we're bringing together the culture of 50,000 years together with blockchain tech. So the oldest living culture with the leading edge technology.
Amazing.
So it's a real challenge, and it's been an absolute pleasure to work on this because we can see how empowering the combination could be. But but I mean, as we go through these conversations, hopefully your audience will appreciate how powerful NFTs are, full stop, and how empowering they can be for disenfranchised communities globally. Amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll expand on that and some lessons learned, and including a recent compromise of a exchange, I think it was, that you'll talk about at some stage. So that brings you to now. So right now are you an investor at all in NFTs and crypto? Or are you
yes,
so you're not only talking about it, you're doing it, you're really living and breathing it, yeah?
Oh, it's living, breathing, it's everything. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I've got some investor buddies, and they always say, I don't care what you think, show me your portfolio. In other words, where are you actually putting your money? In terms of to show you've got commitment to the space. So I've been investing in crypto since 2015. I've been trading it. I was trading Bitcoin. It was $200, and Ethereum, and it's $15, which is lovely.
Okay, well, clearly.
Oh, no. I'm not saying. Hey, I'm not saying I'm a guru. I mean, I've been in this space for 7 years, and I've been trying to find the right sort of business models altogether for the technology, because it is a really young technology, which we will discover. But certainly, I'm an investor in NFTs, and very much behind the technology, trying to work out where the plethora of opportunities are, and where the metaverse is heading is just astounds me, where the opportunities will be.
Okay, and that sort of brings me just for transparency to all the listeners and people watching, is that I've also been dabbling a little bit. In fact, in my family, we've minted our own NFT, so I've had some real experience in the trials and tribulations of that through a teenager son I have. But certainly I would say it's dangerous what I know, and that's why today I'd love you to share with our audience a lot more about the ABCs, as I said, of all these elements. And so I see there's lots of hype, there's hysteria, there's FOMO, it's whether it's real or imagined, there's stories of success and failures, and some use cases are really coming through on NFTs, blockchain, crypto, Web3, the metaverse and stuff. So because you've sort of been a pioneer, and just hearing your background is incredible, and 7 years is like 70 years of experience.
Oh, I have early grey hairs. Trust me, I'm only 5.
So can we go through the bit of the ABCs of, I'm sure there'll be so many people with different levels of knowledge, and
of course.
And in fact, I heard a great quote from Gary Vee saying you need to put 50 hours in before you even put $1 in to really understand anything about NFTs. So the 50 hours before $1 is a good way to be careful.
It is really important to do that, and perhaps if I sort of explain why that is, NFTs has become this sort of amorphous brand where people they talk about it like a long lost friend, right? Oh yeah, my NFTs and this sort of thing, without knowing what's actually going on. And the reality of NFTs, they're non-fungible tokens. We won't get too heavy into the tech, but enough to say an NFT is like a digital fingerprint. That's what it is. So it enables you to identify, digitally put a digital fingerprint into a digital file. That's the beauty of it, right? Now, there's lots more layers of complexity to that, but at a top level basis, that's what it is. But it's all based around blockchain-based technology, and this is the technology that underpins Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And so with NFTs are layered over the cryptocurrency market, is the best way of saying it, because the technology that's underneath it and drives it from a financial perspective is all related to cryptocurrencies. And so, the very background to this comes back in 2009 with the advent of Bitcoin. which was launched to the world without any fanfare. It was just a silent launch so that you could pick up a Bitcoin for nothing back in 2009. And obviously now they're worth anywhere between 37 and 60,000, 67,000 US dollars. So it's, the value has just grown. Now, why that's important is because whenever Bitcoin sneezes, the rest of the cryptocurrency market catches a cold. And when the cryptocurrency market catches a cold, the NFT market gets flu, is the best way of saying it.
Wow, great analogy.
Yeah, because what we've actually got, the NFT space is so new, it's still trying to find its feet. And so with all the NFT projects that are actually out there and coming out and blending and different sort of layers that are going through, it's still trying to find its real, people still trying to find value, because the longer a market exists, like Bitcoin and like Ethereum and like the stock market, for example, the best performers are those that have fundamentals relating to them, with any form of stock, for example, whether it's dividends or, there's cash flows and this type of thing that are well established. When you look at a new market, that is a very young market that is still working on experimental technology. It means that it's high risk, highly volatile, but an exciting market because it goes up and down all over the place. But that is dangerous if you're looking at it from an investment perspective. So certainly, I would absolutely endorse what Gary Vee says, that 50 hours is what you need to spend as a minimum to actually understand what is going on, what the culture is, how do people engage in the NFT space, what's motivating them, all these types of areas. And Bitcoin itself as a technology it's a beautiful bit of technology in terms of what it does and what it can do. And I think it's showcased how powerful it is by means of where the actual value has actually come from. Now, there is a plain English version of what the blockchain is, which will take 90 seconds if you wanted a plain English version, just so people can understand what technology is about. Okay, all right. Now, Adam, can you just hold up your mobile phone for me? Is it on your desk?
Yeah. Hang on. I'm glad you warned me. Yep, got it.
Okay, right. Now, that looks like it's a pretty nice mobile phone. I want you to imagine that I've stolen your phone.
All
right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we have to go to a court of law to establish that I stole your phone. Okay. Yeah. Now, in that court of law, normally there'll be a prosecutor, defender, the judge, in some cases a jury, but most likely prosecutor, defender, judge. And they'll come to a decision, did I steal your phone or not? All right. Now, the challenge is though, Adam, because you're so famous in the loyalty business, all right, with your phone, there are 5,000 members of the paparazzi chasing you because of your influence in the loyalty space, right? So as a result, they're all taking photographs, and they're all taking photographs of me stealing your phone. So if I'm going to avoid any sort of prison time, whatever it might be, I have to persuade 2,500 of those members of the paparazzi not to release those photographs, or to say, no, they're rubbish, they're crap, or to alter the photographs. But let's imagine that I'm lucky enough to persuade 2,500 of them, but for example, that if I don't do it in 10 minutes and get those images changed, those images will be put into a bank vault and permanently sealed with a combination lock on, which has more combinations than there are grains of sand on the planet. And let's imagine there's a camera looking into that bank vault connected to the internet where everybody can see those images of me stealing your phone. I'm going to be in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right. That is the blockchain.
Right.
No. So in terms of, instead of all the members of the paparazzi, 5,000 members of the paparazzi, 5,000 computers. And instead of the images, it's data. And the idea is that when you look at Bitcoin, for example, what happens is data is actually put together and permanently sealed in a block, like a very powerful wax seal. Okay. Right. And once that block of data is sealed, right, it is then transmitted across multiple computers, the 5,000 computers. And once more than 51% of those computers agree, that data then becomes permanent, and that block of data becomes a permanent block. all right? And in the case of Bitcoin, that permanent, as soon as that permanent block is made, a Bitcoin is released.
Right.
Okay, so all the computers are powered by what is known as miners. Don't get too heavily into the whys and wherefores of that, but just understand that it's a peer-to-peer network of computers. And what it means is, like the photographs that are locked in a bank vault and permanently sealed, right? The data is permanently sealed, and you actually have, it's all cryptographically sealed, linked into cryptography. Again, don't worry too much about that. But what it means is the data is permanent. You cannot change the data. You can only update it, all right? And all those blocks of data are all linked together, and that's why it's called a blockchain. But it's that idea of, just think of those 5,000 members of the paparazzi chasing you because you're so famous in the loyalty stream. Right?
Well, I got lost in the most famous part, and but no, I totally get the analogy, and that's nicely and simply explained. So then, you know, maybe take us. So you've explained blockchain as the base technology, and cryptocurrency that sits on it, and NFTs belong to that. And then now maybe bring us together with the Metaverse and the Web 3.0, and I don't know, these are all separate things, or all they're coming together into one environment. What's the story there?
They're all coming together. And I think the best way of saying it is, one of the strongest point about blockchain-based technology, besides it being this block of data that's permanently sealed, there's a structure called smart contracts, which are very, very important just to understand at a very, very top level. Now, if you think like a vending machine for a second, all right? If you want to get your sweeties out of a vending machine,
yep,
you put your money in,
yep,
you choose your sweets, you get the product. Okay,
yep.
so that's sort of, it's the classic sort of, you know, offer acceptance consideration in terms of contracting. So the idea is, when you put your money in, think of what the vending machine's doing behind the scenes. It's actually sort of saying, okay, what happens if this money comes here? If there's not enough money, it automatically programs and returns you the change. Now, with smart contracts, you can actually program funds themselves. So what that means is, for example, the first real use case here in Australia, just for the Australian audience, but also there was an international component, it's where CBA and Wells Fargo looked at actually getting behind a transaction from Queensland cotton into China. And to use the use case to give you an idea. So the boat actually sailed from Queensland across to China. And as soon as it went through Chinese waters, there were sensors, GPS sensors in the containers containing the cotton. That then sent a signal via GPS to the cloud. That then triggered a smart contract that then said, okay, the boat is now in Chinese waters, which then triggered the release of funds, right? So the idea is that you can actually program funds. And what that means is you can actually program money from within the technology itself. Because at the moment, outside of the cryptocurrency space, for example, if you actually buy something via credit card, it goes out into the whole banking system,
yeah,
and then comes back, right?
Yeah.
With cryptocurrencies, it's actually in the browser.
Yeah.
It doesn't go through the banking system. And so, you know, so why that's important? I mean, again, just as an indication, there's, I mean, I've got a bank account still in the UK, right? And when I actually have to get money from the bank in the UK, you know, it's quicker for me to fly to Heathrow, drive down to Brighton, pick up the cash, drive back to Heathrow and come back on the plane than it is to go via the banking system. That's the reality, right? So this technology has created a new layer of financial rails, and that's the critical side. And you can program those financial rails. So those of us who've been involved in the space for quite a bit of time, or like you in 2017, we've seen the power of transmitting different cryptocurrencies internationally to different cryptocurrency exchanges. That's done in seconds, right?
Yep. Yep.
Rather than 3 days.
Yeah.
So these layers are all coming together with the ability to program that money into converting from the internet of information to the internet of value. And when you look at what's happened over the past 18 months with the pandemic, I mean, what we're doing here right now with a Zoom call, I mean, that's become, that's the de facto standard of communication.
Yep.
Now, the internet always promised that, but it failed to deliver.
Mm.
But what we found because of the pandemic, it forced us into this structure.
Yeah.
We've even got it in the vernacular when you talk about the Zoomers.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So when you've got digitization coming together with the internet of money coming together, then what you've actually got is everything coming together into this structure that means, you can actually build value into items. So for example, with NFTs, that we're talking about for the bulk of this conversation, within OpenSea, for example, which is the major NFT marketplace.
So just on that, the OpenSea is are there any others? Because I know of Magic Eden and OpenSea. Are there any other marketplaces?
Yeah, there are a few, but they're much, much smaller. OpenSea accounts ballpark for about 92% of the overall market.
Okay.
You've got things like Foundation, you've got, Solana have got some, you've got a variety of other small ones.
Okay.
OpenSea is the one that defines the market.
Right.
So they've had around $25 billion worth of volume go through, and within the last 10 months or so, right?
Wow, billion.
Now, none of that has gone through the banking system.
Right.
Okay, so just put that into perspective for 1 second,
Yeah.
because the art market globally is about 61 billion. And one platform alone has done 25 billion in about 10 months. It's gone from $220 million last year to to $25 billion worth of sales.
That's just exponential. It's exponential.
Right. And this is with a technology that is still emerging.
Wow.
And so it just shows where this is all going to go, and the plethora of opportunities that exist. Because if you can combine the digitization of everything together with attributing the financial value of transactions, and with the digital fingerprint, which an NFT is, that defines the digital ownership of a digital file, whether that's a movie, it can be a Word document, it could be an image, it can be anything, but you can
as my son said to me, it's just a JPEG, Dad.
Well, essentially, it's a JPEG that you actually own. You've got the digital fingerprint. So because that digital fingerprint is unique, because again, without getting too heavy into the tech, there's a thing called SHA-256. I don't want to get too heavily into the tech, as I say, but you can go onto Google. And you can actually put in SHA-256.
How do you spell that?
SHA. It's an acronym, which I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm not so sure exactly off the top of my head what the acronym is, but it's a methodology of cryptography. So the idea is, if you put a Word document and you cryptographically hash it, as it's called, if you change one full stop or one pixel of a JPEG or one frame of a video, digital fingerprint of that file will change. So there are so many combinations that you can identify a digital fingerprint for a digital file.
That's
and
amazing.
that becomes really powerful. Because then you can identify any single digital file, and you can attribute ownership to that. So if you can now attribute ownership to it and effect the automatic transmission of funds from it, to and from it, it becomes unbelievably powerful, because you no longer have the banks involved.
And this is where the tradable value becomes apparent, because I own my NFTs and they are mine. And if there's more demand for the 1 pixel separated versions of it, then the whole project value increases. Well, this is my basic experience.
I mean, essentially, if you think of the classic baseball cards in the US, right? The one of Babe Ruth, a signed one of Babe Ruth, for example, sells for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, one of the key things that's really interesting about the baseball card market was that in the 60s and 70s, kids used to put the baseball cards in the spokes of their push bikes to make them sound like a Harley Davidson.
I don't want to put my age in lights, but I do remember that.
Right, but that's the reason why the baseball cards have a natural shortage. They have a natural rarity, because all these cards were completely ruined by kids like you, Adam. You may be chased by the paparazzi, but you ruined all those baseball cards as a kid, right? But the idea is, The idea is the number of baseball cards left is reduced.
Yes.
Now, if you can identify your ownership to a unique particular asset, it becomes powerful. And there's even structures that are coming out now where assets or digital assets can be degraded over time. And so the more times you look at a piece or the more times it gets sold, you can actually build in degradation. So what it means is you can attribute value to that degradation.
Oh my gosh. Okay, now we're going right down your rabbit hole. I love that analogy back to your old book on this. This is actually could go into a whole different direction, but I just want to pull us back.
I know
pull us back a little bit because
absolutely
there's so much detail and amazing stuff I'm learning, and hopefully everyone else watching is learning. Is there any watch outs generally that people should, we talked about 50 hours, but what are the user experience issues? What are the security issues? What are the tax issues? Are there any? And look, again, only a few minutes or so, if you can, just people are well armed.
We'll keep it very, very tight. The first thing is security, because it's not like the banking system. There are no government deposit guarantees. There are no offshore call centers. Even though we may hate them, at least we've got access to them. With the cryptocurrency space, essentially you become your own bank.
Yeah.
You have, for example, in a wallet that you may have, MetaMask or something similar, you're given a 12 or 24 phrase seed phrase. If you lose that, you get no access to your funds. It's that black and white. Yeah. If somebody gets access to that seed phrase, they can drain your wallet.
Yeah.
So security is absolutely a major issue. The second thing is UX. The user experience at the moment is very, very poor because there's a bit of lead time between the blockchain putting everything together in terms of, again, I don't want to get too heavily into the detail, but just to say that there are a certain limited number of transactions per second that can actually happen. That's changing and evolving, moving all the time. But what it means is that it can be a little bit slower. And that's so what we expect from traditional banking systems and from everything online, the expectation is very high, but it's going to fall short of that expectation. And that is until there's more money coming into the space, bigger brands coming into the space that want to bring people on board. The third thing is there's a massive learning curve, because you have to understand what's going on with cryptocurrencies, because, with Bitcoin, as I was saying, with Bitcoin and Ethereum, when they sneeze, the NFT market catches flu rather than a cold. And so you have to be aware of what's going on. That's why 50 hours of research is so important, because there's high risk and there's high reward. And it's if you can navigate the situation, there are massive opportunities to be had. But it does require a fundamental level of understanding where the market is right now, because the early adopters are those from the cryptocurrency space. Because they understand the tech, right? So, for example, when you think of a CryptoPunk, which were NFTs that were released in 2017 that were given away for free, those are now selling for tens of millions of dollars. Yeah. Now, those that understand the technology understand there's the digital fingerprint, it's protecting me. Yeah. Those that don't understand that technology are sort of, it's a JPEG, I just right click and save it. What are you talking about, right? So you have to get behind what's actually going on. And then once you understand that, there is a green field of opportunity that is out there. But you need to do that research. And you brought on the issue of tax. Tax is a very important issue. The governments globally are still trying to work out what's going on with the metaverse and that type of thing. So they're applying traditional tax laws, mainly of capital gains, linked into what is actually going on in the space.
I'm not sure if we're going to go into too much detail now on the metaverse and Web 3.0 and all of those definitions, or maybe you can just give us, a top line on both before we dive into why I'm as keen to also get some insights from you on NFTs and loyalty programs.
Yeah, of course.
Before we get there, just a quick word or insight around, these other hyped up names and words, and we all know metaverse, where it's coming from, but more from your point of view.
Yeah, if you think of the metaverse, it's where digital technologies are coming together. Back in 2017, Pokemon Go was the major moment for augmented reality.
Yeah.
People were chasing in their phones, Pokemon Chew, whatever. That's coming together with virtual reality.
Yeah.
That's coming together with Zooming. That's coming together with digital identity being defined by a profile picture that's increasingly becoming a sort of a digital flex for people. So it's all coming together.
Right.
All together. And so the metaverse is really, it's a holistic structure for all these digital features coming together. The pragmatism, however, is all these technologies are not talking to each other properly.
Yeah.
At the moment, but they will.
Wow, so that's actually a very succinct, beautiful way of bringing it, the way you explained all the different elements coming together. And from what I've heard, you know, that's a great explanation. So can we jump into an area that I'm very fascinated by, and there's a lot of talk and use cases coming through, and some brands that are really big brands are getting out there and using NFTs in their, whether it's marketing hysteria or actually trying to do more engagement with their members and customers. So let's talk about NFTs and loyalty programs, if you don't mind, for a second.
Sure.
Actually, more than a second.
No, of course. I mean, this is your domain, Adam. So, you know.
Yeah, well, this is my domain shared with someone who knows all about NFTs and stuff. So trying to bring the two together. So we, you know, just for context, you know, loyalty program, you know, is a structure, in most cases, overt structure of benefits, rewards, and recognition to enhance a customer's life, financially, emotionally, in order to drive certain behaviors and beliefs and engagement back with the brand, the host brand that has the program, so that the brand gets more data, more revenue and advocacy, but fundamentally an engagement tool that benefits the brand and benefits the member through a whole range of mechanics. So with that sort of general definition, there are different kinds of programs, as you know. There's a host brand owns a program, builds it, and owns the currency, whether it's a point or with or without points. And you know, they control the value, they control the expiry, they own the program in essence. You also have those that are part of a coalition. So like Qantas, for example, and Flybuys, they have many partners. You buy their points, you know, you earn their points, partners buy their points and so on, but members earn their points and redeem within their ecosystems. So those are traditional, the way programs have been built over the last 10s, 20s, 30s, even hundreds of years now. And then within programs, you've got what I would call the 6 currencies of collection. So that's my view of how you build a program proposition, is that you build 6 areas in which a member can benefit. You have a financial layer. So show me the money, give me something for my spend. And that can be either direct or discount or points, hidden points or coins or coupons or whatever it is, or stars like Starbucks or whatever. Then you've got an experiential layer, which is very much about exclusive events and gamifying the experience, as well as, you know, special offers and or surprise and delight elements, experiences. Then you've got a functional or utility layer, and that's very much about how can a program help people save time, make their life easy, all within the context of engaging with the brand. And then you've got the personal layer, which is using the data to be more personal and relevant, and very much show me, you know, that I know you, and, you know, clearly it's a value exchange of data and show me that you know me, and also very much ego and exclusivity in that personal layer, you know, make me feel special. And then you've got a social or cause or community layer, which is the 6th currency of collection, as I call it, where programs are finding a way to redeem rewards for charities and various other, or give members the opportunity. So that was in 3 or so minutes, my 6 currencies, and also the different background. So now, having explained that to you, and understanding the what's going on with NFTs as a collectible, you know, unique digital asset, give me your point of view of NFTs. Where could they fit into a loyalty program in any way, shape, or form?
Well, broadly, every category you've spoken about, right? I mean, the programmability of money enables conditioned behavior to happen, and that can happen instantaneously, right? I think in terms of digital flexing, you know, which is the ego side of things, we're seeing that already in a lot of sort of profile pictures and limited edition, you know, images that are being produced. I mean, Adidas have gone into the metaverse. You've got Coca-Cola, a whole variety of big brands that have put out branded products.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I mean, indeed, with the the charity side of things, you've got a lot of projects that a lot of these the profile picture projects that are donating money to charity that automatically is programmed in. I mean, for example, with our project, for example, with Indigenous artists, we're done, 30% of the funds coming in from the gross profit coming in will go to Indigenous charities chosen by the artists, right? And that's built in so that the decision comes from them. So in terms of conditioning behavior, there's so many pieces that you can bring together through the programmability of the financial structure, through to enabling even sort of things linked into identity are increasingly becoming important. For example, Twitter very recently has enabled people to confirm their ownership of their digital picture, to confirm they own it. Now, what that means is, on Twitter, you actually have a hexagonal shape around your profile picture. So what that means is, you're identifying who you are by your profile picture. So it's a digital flex. And if you think of, in normal life, if you drive a Lamborghini or you have your Rolex watch, how many people every day see it? There might be 50, 100 people, whatever it might be. In a digital environment, everybody's, in any form of digital environment, if you're on Twitter, if you're seeing everything, brands are going to become increasingly focused on, what they're saying in these social media platforms. So I mean, the likes of Twitter, for example, I think they're going to become ultimately a digital identity play, so that when you go into the metaverse and you're actually interacting in a digital way, you can identify, here's Adam. Besides the 5,000 members of the paparazzi around you, they'll be able to identify who you are.
Yes, sorry to interrupt. You just gave me an idea. So could a loyalty program, because everyone's got a unique membership ID, right? We're all, in the old days, we're given a card and it had a unique number on it.
Right.
So could a loyalty program have an NFT membership?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's an organization called VFriends, which is Gary Vaynerchuk, who's very big into social media. With the VFriends, you get all sorts of, you get to his conferences free of charge, you get access to him for 1 hour a year or something like that. There's
quite a lot of utility around.
A lot of utility built in, but you can then sell that. Right, so you can sell that, with all, and the loyalties, all the issues are actually there. You've got these things called POAPs. Now, we're getting into some deeper territory here, but this is for the metaverse, right?
Yeah.
It's called Proof of Attendance Protocol.
Proof of Attendance Protocol.
So if you go into a metaverse event, whether that might be a talk, or maybe it might be something linked into something that a brand might want to actually put on as a showcase, maybe interviewing Michael Schumacher's son or something like that, with the Formula One team. And then, if you actually go and attend and you've got your digital identity, you can get a proof of attendance you've been there, right? So all these sorts of things, just think where that could go. How many times have you been to our events? 20 times. Okay, loyalty, what do you do? I mean, you're the loyalty expert. Straight away, the technology can be programmed, so you can then say, okay, you've been 20 times, we put you into this layer now. All these things, I mean, the opportunities are immense. This is what I'm saying, the opportunities are immense. And it's one of those things, from the whole dot-com boom and bust that I went through, in that whole sort of period, together with where we are on the blockchain, there's this thing called the technology opportunity cycle, as I call it. Right? When technology comes out, and you can then create new opportunities from that technology. Just thinking about the proof of attendance protocol, I can see your minds thinking about that straight away, right? So the idea is that technology opens up new ideas for you commercially. And then you'll come to someone like us or somebody else and say, well, if you can do that, can you do this? So then the opportunity creates new technology. So you get this vicious cycle going on. And what you're finding is, in the NFT space, everything is coming together. And it's changing so quickly. It's almost impossible, even for someone like me and others like me, who to stay on top of absolutely everything.
So then, sorry, carry on.
No, please, no.
So then, it is a little bit overwhelming, especially for those perhaps laggards into the space. I mean, loyalty programs are still quite traditional, but I'm trying to push programs that I work with to start thinking, if not trying. I mean, we've got some really great use cases now, and brands like even sushi I read about, they're looking at crypto and NFTs in their strategy. And then I read, that Alaska Airlines are looking at it as part of blockchain and crypto as part of this. And some of these other brands, Starbucks, where you can use crypto to pay. I mean, brands are starting to actually, put their feet into the deep blue sea.
I think what I would say to anybody looking towards exploring this space initially is look for some small use cases, some small wins to test ideas, right? Because clearly with a lot of bigger brands, there's a lot of pressure to report to shareholders, to institutions and that type of thing. They need to be reporting that they're doing something, but they don't want to compromise their brand. So it's this balancing act that one has to get. And so it's about experimenting with like you would with a new product. You wouldn't go straight to the US with a brand new product without testing it first.
Yeah.
So you test it in a small way, test some thesis, very much taking on board, I think in many ways, the lean startup methodology that exists in tech startups, right? Where you fail fast. If it doesn't work, you fail it fast. But you position it in such a way that it doesn't compromise your brand. And even if one partners with other people, who actually to test the ideas and test the methodologies to how things are going to work, so that you don't compromise, but you're still in the space or seem to be in the space, depending on what the actual observation is.
If we could summarize then maybe, 3 tips, I know you've given us a lot of things to think about as we go from the ABCs of NFTs, cryptocurrency, blockchain, Metaverse. You've really given us a lot. And then we've come back out into loyalty programs and spent a bit of time just discovering, what they are and where, NFTs could help at a small scale and a couple of use cases beginning. For the audience, as we wrap up, I don't know, tips to watch out for, or, traps to avoid, just in summary. And this is more for the loyalty program landscape, as well as people out there trying to dig in and learn more. What would you summarize us?
I would say number 1 is research. Don't just don't get sucked in by the hype. The hype is great and it's important, but it's taking a reasoned view on it, because the ROI for any investment in the metaverse, the numbers aren't massive in the metaverse per se, but it's the added value it brings.
Okay.
That's a very, very powerful structure. I mean, there are people in fashion, for example, who are using the metaverse strongly, and where you have physical and digital coming together. Digital, as they call it. So experiment with smaller things that are not going to either break the bank or break the brand.
Okay, so was that number 2? Because research was number 1. Number 2 was experiment.
Yeah, number 2 was experiment, right? With smaller cases. If you've got a particular smaller brand that might have more of the early adopters, because certainly in the metaverse, it's the gamers, it's the Zoomers that really get digitization.
It's interesting you bring that up. I just digress, because in my For Love or Money research study, which I've been doing for 10 years, in the 2022 study, I explore loyalty programs members' appetite for cryptocurrency as rewards, for NFTs for the first time I've asked, and it's fascinating to see the results coming through, which I'll release later in the year, around which generations are actually a little bit more engaged, although it's still lower down. I would still say it's near the bottom of the way. Most people are wanting to engage or be rewarded, but it's now on the radar, and I'm going to watch that over the next year or so.
I think one of the key things is the NFTs as this concept. As I said, people welcome the concept like a long lost friend. So people, in the zeitgeist, it's out there. If you look at the Google searches for NFTs, it's on the massive rise. So it's in the zeitgeist. So it's I would say number 3 would be, you can't not be in here somehow. Because it's the age-old challenge. Nobody wants to be first, but nobody wants to be last.
And I want to finish on that, because I think That is the best way to finish. So in summary, research, 50 hours minimum. Experiment if you can and get people who know what they're talking about, who've burnt themselves, including you, Tim. Maybe they can reach out to you and get some advice.
Yeah, I'm happy to help where we can.
Consult to them. And 3, get into it. And I'm talking from experiences that I have dabbled. I'm learning as I'm going. I've made a few mistakes. I've lost a bit. I've learned a bit, but I've still got so much more to go in terms of my 50 hours. But look, it's been an absolute joy, pleasure. I don't know. I would never be able to say, let's have a coffee, because that'll turn into lunch, dinner, and most probably, I don't know.
I mean, it's one of those things that once you talk to anybody in the space who's passionate about it, you won't get us to shut up. That's the problem. And I respect that, you know. That's why I try and have the discipline to try and just keep it sort of, to sort of shorter points where we can, and just make it really easy to understand. But I mean, it's something that, I really enjoy, and I mean, I'm blessed in being asked to speak again at a whole variety of events, which is fantastic. But it's an area that I can't explain how big it is. When I first saw the internet, I was blown away with that image coming across on the painting. Yeah. When I first started digging deep into Bitcoin and that sort of thing, I then saw that on steroids. Yeah. Now's the metaverse is approaching. Even that last metric is, I don't even know what the next asteroids. I mean, that's not, no, it's not the right word, but it sort of gets, you get the idea of the magnitude of where the
cosmic explosion. But we'll leave it at that. And just as a little resource for people, quickly in summary, have a look at the Gary Vee video, search him up. He's very interesting. I saw a great post by a gentleman by the name of Jeremiah O. Yang, O-W-Y-N-G. He's got 50, in fact, I counted 85 use cases on his blog or his article. That's a lot of brands and examples for people who are looking for examples. Some of them are loyalty, but most are just brands doing playing in the space of crypto and NFTs. And thanks so much, Tim. And have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
It's my absolute pleasure, and I'd love to sort of come back and we'll get an update. Just to sort of see where the things are moving. But
we will. We'll get you back and maybe spend an hour on loyalty programs. But anyway,
no. I mean, it's. I think there'll be a lot more maturity as time goes on. Within the next 3 to 6 months, definitely. Yeah. And
very good luck with lots of luck with walking between worlds.
Yes, thank you.
Amazing innovation you're doing there.
I'm super excited by it, because it actually, taking the financial programmability, for example, this automatically builds in 5% royalties for any painting that's actually sold. That the majority goes back.
So there's a great social connection. All right, I've got to close it off now.
Awesome. And thank you very much, Adam. Really appreciate your time. And
don't go away. Speak to you soon. Cheers.
Okay, cheers. Bye.